So today we're going to be talking about reading with English language learners, and my name is Jennifer Ondick. So why do we need to learn about English language learners? This is something very common that you'll be likely to come across in your career. 47% of English language learners in the 4th grade and 51% of them in the 8th grade are behind in their reading skills. They represent the fastest growing student population, and by 2025, 25% of our public school students will be English language learners. 10% of students who spoke English at home failed to complete high school, while 31% of language minority students who spoke English and 5% or 5 times as high, 51%, for language minority students who spoke English with difficulty. So this is a chart of public school students who are English language learners. If you noticed, the one in California is pretty high. So let's look at the 5 components of reading. We have phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. Phonic awareness. So this is the ability to hear and use different sounds in a language. This is important because it's a foundation for spelling and word recognition skills. Some students may not be able to hear the sound that corresponds with the letter because that sound is not used in their native language. So strategies for help: devote time to modeling the correct pronunciation of the sound, and have students practice identifying beginning, middle, and end sounds. The research I did was a study on vowel perception and production, intervention on phonic awareness skills on 3rd grade students. And the results they found with this was the lack of sufficiently developed phonic awareness skills is concerning, as these skills are regarded as the best predictor for reading during the early school years. And some of the interventions they used were sensory perceptual training and the practice of production of vowel sounds. So let's look at the results for this. As you can see, most of the students, they scored higher in this study after the interventions were introduced to them. So phonics is the next one. This is the understanding that sounds in speaking correspond to letters. And this is important because reading development is dependent on the understanding that letters and letter patterns represent the sounds of spoken language. English language learners, they struggle with this more because they struggle putting together the concept of the correlation of sound and symbol, and they also have to do this while learning a new language, so it is hard for them to learn all of that at once. So let's look at some strategies. Some strategies could be pre-teaching vocabulary words, tangible manipulatives, asking students to listen and write sounds they hear, and explain that some sounds from different language carry on to another. The research that I found for this found that kindergarten and 1st grade students who were consistently exposed to alphabetical coding instruction for 1 to 2 years showed the most progress. So now let's look at vocabulary. Vocabulary is recognizing words and understanding their meaning in context to the text. So this is important because it's an important step in reading comprehension, because the more students know, the more the students will understand the text. Some challenges they may face are limited comprehension, limited vocabulary foundation, and limited academic vocabulary foundation. So let's look at some strategies. Pre-teach vocabulary, focus on conjugates, and give students time to practice. The study that I found for this one was the National Reading Technical Assistance Center, and they found that the methods most effective for teaching vocab were providing direct instruction of vocabulary words, repetition of multiple sources and exposures. Vocabulary words should be those that the learner will find useful in many contexts, and also you could use technology. So fluency. This is the ability to read a text effortlessly and accurately, and this is the bridge between word recognition and comprehension. So some challenges they may face is students may excel in decoding skills, but when it comes to text, they may have trouble comprehending it, and they also may have limited vocabulary and background knowledge. So some strategies to help would be finding a balance between fluency and comprehension, providing practice for reading out loud, and reading along with the tape so that they can hear the correct pronunciation. So the research that I found was teachers, they were given a fluency packet, and they tested the students the first 5 weeks and the last 5 weeks. And after the last 5 weeks, they found that the intervention skills that they used throughout the year improved the students' scores. So let's look at comprehension now. Comprehension is the understanding of the meaning of text. This is important because the purpose of reading is that they should be able to comprehend the text and make conclusions about the text. If they don't understand it, then there's not really a point. So some challenges they may face is following key points of the story and comprehending directions or content of assignments that may not even be literature. So some strategies to help are use visuals, build background knowledge, check comprehension by printing out sentences from stories or key points and having them rearrange them in the correct order. And you can also ask questions about what they're reading. So the research that I found was when you provide English language students with something that they understand or care about, it's easier for them to comprehend, and it's also good to give them background knowledge. So this is going to be our reading without aid section. So basically I wanted you guys to kind of see what it's like to try and read in a foreign language and understand what's going on. So go ahead and take a look at this and try to figure out what this little story is talking about. So this is with no aid, no background knowledge. Okay, now we're going to go into some reading with aid. So notice that the vocabulary words are in bold, there's pictures and words in the native language above, and it just overall kind of gives you more sense of what it's talking about. So go ahead and try to read the story now that you have the aid with it, and try and kind of come up with what you think the story is before we move to the next slide, which is in English. Okay, so here's the story in English. Once there was a bird named Peter. Flying made Peter happy. Peter sees flowers, people, and cars when he flies. When it is nighttime, Peter flies home. So notice how, so that's my presentation. Thank you guys so much.